Hello to another episode of Valeo Health Podcast. Today we have one of our favorite practitioners, Jelena, which this is our second episode because there's so much to talk about that I'm so interested to have you again here. Welcome, Jelena.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to have you in this beautiful, cozy space.
Yes.
And I'm so excited about the topic we're going to talk about
Yes,
as well.
me too.
Yeah.
One of the, I would say, I don't know if it is sad or, a realistic factual statistic is that people are dying from obesity right now more than malnutrition. So we actually have people that are obese, get health problems and die from it more than malnutrition. I'm happy that malnutrition is not anymore part of why people are passing away. But obesity, I think it's a very, very interesting question because if we think about it from a natural point of view, we think, okay, obesity is somebody who eats more, his calorie in is more than his calorie out. Yeah. And this person does not have the discipline to eat less. And this is why they're like this. It's always revolved around, discipline or this person is unhealthy. But actually, Jelena, if we look at it from a medical perspective, is obesity a disease?
It's a really good question. And I think if we look at on a cellular level what is happening and what is actually happening in environment, we have changed the environment where the cell needs to develop in a most optimal way. What do I mean about that? In UAE, statistically speaking, we have 31.7% of adults who are actually diagnosed with obesity.
Wow.
And if I talk about women and men, women are 44.3% and men 31.7%. So if we're talking about UAE in general, if we look at the body as a cell, we are trillions of cells.
Yes.
And I think people need to understand that. The cells, your whole body, trillions of cells are alive. They communicate with each other and they need certain things to be in coherence and to signal right signals to the brain, to the hormones. Biochemistry is a second stage of communication. First stage of communication is cells. So if we know what cells are made of, how contaminated they are, if we can do a detox, what are they needing, like a water, structured water around the cell to power the mitochondria to give energy. So on the end of the day, we are energy.
Yes.
So I'm going to speak about it later, but if you talk about cells and environment, what changed? The environment changed and the cell doesn't recognize where is it and what to do.
So the messaging, I always like to think of cells as your, it's your team, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
It's your team that's taking care of you. And then if your team has the right messaging, right energy, then it can take care of you. If it doesn't, then you start having, let's say, dysfunctions in your body, which is the same thing as you have a dysfunction in your team.
Exactly.
But so is somebody more genetically prone to obesity than other people?
Yeah, I love that question. We do a genetic testing with DNA labs. And when we do a certain SNPs, we can actually see there are certain genes to be in predisposition for the obesity and satiety and actually hunger, which is FTO, which is MC4R and POMC. Now, this is genetically predisposition, but if we talk about environment and how the cell are actually able to change the genes, we call it epigenetics. And research shows that we can actually change the environment and actually stimulate different signals to the genes so they can change inside so they can actually become healthy and optimal again. So we call it, at the end of the day, genes are the gun that is actually filled.
Yes.
But what shoots the gun is actually the environment, what we put in our body, what we are surrounding ourselves with, and how our cells are signaling.
So let's put it maybe, does it mean for somebody who is more prone to obesity, the way they structure their environment is much more important than somebody who's not when it comes to obesity on a level. But does it mean somebody needs to be more, needs to eat healthier, exercise more, stay under the sun to stay thin? Thin or healthier, let's put it this way. I don't like the word thin.
It's a good question. I think awareness is very important. Let's say if I give an example of obese client who is 180 kilos.
Yes.
And their mother was 150 kilos and their grandmother was 150 kilos. I think we really need to test, is there any mutations happening? Even though the gene is there, the environment is actually really wired in a family if they continue doing the same things. So we need to take that cell or that human being out of that environment with grandmother and mother and father.
Is it a lifestyle habit or actually a genetic? Completely.
It is actually coming from the neurotransmitter, which is actually the neuroplasticity can change. So we can put that human being in a different environment. They can change the neuroplasticity, neurotransmitters, their brain function. It is hardwired, how people say, but it's possible to change it. The only thing is what I want everyone to understand is not only psychologically, can I do that? You know how people, they're like, you know, I don't know, can I just, you know, calories in, calories out? I don't know, can I work out? I don't even like it. It's not about you. It's about your cells are communicating something that you need to listen to. And if we just change the perception of emotional, you know, the people that emotional eating to what is my body trying to tell me?
Yes.
Yeah. So emotions are there to really give you a justification of something or to tell you, wait, my body is actually not functioning properly. What can I hear from it? Can I hear it? And what it is to change?
Unfortunately, us humans, we're very good at ignoring those messages that our body or our mind gives us, which I find very interesting. We have, especially women, we don't believe our instincts. But getting back into the subject, I wanted to, you know, this new wonder drug, which is the GLP-1. So is basically GLP-1 a cure to obesity?
Love that question. So I have been in last year having clients who are coming to me post GLP-1. So we're working on a certain pathways that they were affected before, during, and now I'm putting them back into metabolic coherence and homeostasis. Is it cure? It's not. It is something that can, in the moment when we test it before they start doing GLP-1, metabolic dysfunction is there already. My question would always be, why
so
is it there?
Metabolic dysfunction means someone has a high BMI?
This is an amazing question. Thank you for that question, okay? In a clinical stage, we only before looked at the BMI. That is not what we're looking anymore. We're looking at muscle mass, lean muscle mass, percentage of body fat, or the how many kilograms there is of fat as well. And then we're looking BMI. So we need to look at everything, because now we're going to talk about GLP-1, what is happening as well. One of the biggest thing on GLP-1 is that muscle mass is starting to decrease. So even though the BMI gets lower in the people who are using GLP-1, they don't know, if they don't see with the caliper testing, is it muscle or is it fat or is it both? So metabolic dysfunction on the end is not only BMI, it is actually how your cells are working. So we have pancreas releasing insulin. Is it insulin resistance before they started? Obviously, it's number one thing.
Definitely.
Number two is obesity or higher percentage of body fat, not being able to lose it. Usually, it's we test GMAP test all the time. It's usually some type of SIBO or IBS, IBD, gut imbalances happening or overgrowth of bacteria, which maybe is not tested or treated. So that's why sometimes GLP-1 is also used. So this function, metabolic dysfunction, is, am I able to eat, to train or not train and still be flexible in that metabolic state that I'm not over gaining or over losing? So if I see that there's a client that goes up and down like a yo-yo, that is not metabolic flexibility. That is metabolic dysfunction. And that's what we need to work on.
And so does the GLP-1 in a way facilitate, support basically somebody that has a metabolic dysfunction?
Beautiful question.
Or makes it easier? I think as humans, we've always known, okay, if I eat less of this, if I exercise more, this is the conclusion. But, does it give us this like maturity of like, now I don't crave this, so I can stop eating it?
Beautiful. And I think there's two questions in one. I will come to the first one, which is calorie in, calorie out, and less I eat, more I train. we need to understand that this was a myth. That is not reality.
Oh, wow.
We are not meant to eat less and move more. We're meant to be metabolically flexible. And what it means is eating macro-dense nutrient food that feeds my cells, my hormones, my brain, my skin and hair, which is usually protein, essential amino acids. You can't gain weight from protein.
Yes.
Protein gives you satiety as well.
I mean, there's a limit you can eat also.
Exactly,
protein.
exactly.
But I like, because I think mindset-wise, you've changed the purpose of why you eat. We've grown up, a lot. I'm Middle Eastern myself, it's a pleasure. It's still a pleasure. I love enjoying a good meal with my family. But the ultimate purpose of food is to nourish you, to give you what you need to be able to function as a high-performing human being.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
If you follow this purpose, then maybe your body reacts to it and you have a more balanced metabolic system.
Yeah. So if we go back into GLP-1 metabolic system, it's beautiful that we know that food is there to nourish us. But when we are metabolically inflexible and we have a dysfunction, the last thing you think is that. My clients and their response is usually the old thing all my day I think is food.
Yes.
When I'm gonna eat, what I'm gonna eat, where is the snack? I need the sugar, I need that.
So is this a hormone imbalance?
Yeah, it's a really, really good question. I think this is energy balance, which means we all need energy. Our cells need energy. Our mitochondria needs energy. So when we are lacking energy, the first thing that we reach for is food, because we are only educated that number one thing that gives us energy is food, and that's not the case. Number one thing that gives us energy is actually sunlight.
I'm getting too many wows, when you get a light bulb while you're talking. That's beautifully said, because what you're saying is we've always been structured to think, I'm tired, I should eat.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I don't have energy, I should eat. But actually there could be many different factors.
Exactly.
Okay.
So if I go back into cells, our body, if we all imagine our body as trillions of cells, little small circles, they are conscious and alive and they talk to each other. That cell inside, there is a DNA and mitochondria. Mitochondria is a battery for energy and signaling, okay? But that mitochondria needs energy from somewhere.
Yes.
It cannot get it only from food. So if I get at mitochondria, the water around the cell, which contributes to signaling and fast-paced signaling, it needs to be structured water. So we say, I'm dehydrated. Your cells are dehydrated, number one, from what? Blue light. Blue light dehydrates structured water around the cell.
Oh, wow.
When you are on the laptop, the only thing that you think is about food. What can I snack? Or when you finish your work on the laptop, that was a hard work. I need something to eat. I'm hungry. You're not hungry. You're dehydrated. So that structured water needs to be there. So
always try to drink water first, and if you're hungry, and then if you're still hungry, eat.
That's a good question, but as well, that water needs to be structured.
Okay.
So we need to be outside on the sun on a particular time of the day. That's why I'm tan, because I really practice that.
Very
but
nice.
we really need to understand that when you ask, is it hormonal? On the end of the day, cells mis-signaling activate the biochemistry, which is hormones. So our female hormones, as well as men, in the morning, when we wake up and we see sunrise, which is the infrared and near and far infrared light, is more activated. We are actually slowly rising the cortisol and rising something called pregnenolone, which is the precursor to cortisol, and pregnenolone, which is for women who want to get pregnant. We need pregnenolone. So we need progesterone after that.
Yes.
If we are looking at the blue light in the middle of the morning, or in the middle of the night, sometimes when you wake up and you flash yourself with a blue light, what the body wants? Cortisol.
Cortisol.
It's like, hello, stress.
Yes, exactly.
And it's like, I don't know what to do. I'm just like now awake. Give me something to do. It's always about doing. The body wants to do things. When it's cortisol arised, the body wants to do. Give me this, give me work. I need to have more work. I have this idea and that idea. Give me the laptop. So our body is actually connected to something called suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is actually connected to our circadian rhythm. Our body works with nature. So on the end of the day, if we go back into obesity and why people are so, I would say increase of body fat and metabolic dysfunction, is because we changed the environment. We are working in artificial lights, in a 4 walls without, windows. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 hours without going outside.
And our bodies were actually not made for this.
No.
And this is why we are, getting impacted by it.
That's why I say obesity or the fat accumulation is body's adaptation to the environment that we're living in this modern lifestyle.
Very interesting. And when it comes to GLP-1, is that it helps us receive this balance, which then can, lead to weight loss. But when you lose your weight, then other things get balanced, right? So here, the one thing we wanted to tackle with is we've tackled before, why people take weight loss, how should they take weight loss, which should be, with a doctor, with a nutritionist, a functional medicine practitioner like yourself, doing the right blood tests, following the right exercise regime, and also working on your mindset. So these are definitely, anyone that is looking to start GLP-1, please, follow a program, because you cannot go to just the pharmacy and decide a dosage and start taking it. This is, out of the way, please. Now, we wanted to tackle more today about, the mindset, the mental impact of being on GLP-1 and losing weight quickly. And then, the fear of actually stopping it, and what's the right way to stop it and what's important to stop it.
Really good. So if we go into the first one, GLP-1 works on a certain pathways. And I think it's really important to people know what pathways are going to be impacted once they start. And we have 6 different pathways. Number 1 is obviously...
Maybe we can define pathways to our listeners. What it means exactly.
So we have genes, and we have actually expression of the genes, and we have hormones, we call it biochemistry, certain signals like neurotransmitters. There are compounds in the body that they are communicating to each other. So hormones, neurotransmitters, gut microbiome, or the gut beautiful trillions of bacteria, they're communicating. So these are, we call it the pathways, how they wire and how they talk and how they communicate with the whole body in the same time. So number 1, in the gut, GLP-1 is created. So after we eat carbohydrates and fat specifically, when we ingest that, our gut is actually producing GLP-1. So that's when it's happening, and that's where naturally happens. But if we take the GLP-1 from the outside, I always say to my clients, imagine birth control pills as well. So I'm producing my own estrogen, my own progesterone, my own testosterone, my own, progranulin. There is this little box that comes into my body. We call it exogenous hormones. When the body says, oh my God, look at these guys, why would I work if I have a help? So your body stopped secreting estrogen and progesterone, and it gives up and say, well, you guys do whatever you need to do.
And what are the things that are coming? Like what?
GLP-1. So if I'm producing my own hormones, there is no need to add externally.
Yes. So people that require GLP-1 are people that are not being able to produce enough?
Love that question. GLP-1 usually can be restored, but in the moment of dysfunction, they're not producing GLP-1. And that's when you take GLP-1 as an injection, you increase GLP-1 production. So that doesn't mean that you're not able to produce more. You just don't know how, and this is the only way that is given to you.
Very interesting.
Second thing, GLP-1 is actually as well in the brain. So we have two types of GLP-1s. One is in the gut, one is in the brain. And how that impacts the brain as well. I love to talk about POMC, and this has been my obsession in the last couple of months. POMC, or pro-opioid melanocortin, is a pathway or a gene that is activated by the sunlight. It activates GLP-1. Okay,
Wow. Yeah.
It's incredible.
I mean, now I know why I love the beach.
yeah. That's why I'm like, yeah, go for it. So what it does, why I love POMC, is because POMC is secreting alpha MSH that actually binds to a gene calling MC4R for satiety. So I'm not sure you guys if you experience, but when you're on vacation,
Yes.
when you are on the sun, the
Yes.
last thing you think is food.
Yes.
You think maybe about a smoothie or like
Yes.
a nice lemonade or
Yes.
water, you're
Yes.
thirsty. The last thing you think is food.
Yes.
That's when you get your energy from. Your mitochondria is happy. You're filling up your cells with energy. We call it as well biophotons. And you're walking on the beach, on the water.
Yeah. So you're grounding yourself.
You're grounding yourself in the same time. You have receptors on your feet. They're actually taking the electrons in.
Okay.
And you're getting energy. You're full of energy.
Okay.
So the last thing you think is actually food.
Yes.
So when we're actually using the GLP-1, it is supporting POMC pathway.
Oh, wow.
So if I can have GLP injection that supports and signals POMC pathway to secrete alpha MSH
Yeah.
that binds to MC4R, which is satiety hormone,
Okay.
and I feel satisfied, and sun does the same thing, but I'm not seeing the sun.
Yes.
So I think this is the only
But
way.
is the impact the same, or would you say, because I really do believe, I mean, let's say going in front of the sun every day will be beneficial for you. Eating healthy, eating your greens every day will be beneficial for you. Moving every day will be beneficial for you. But humans don't do it.
Yeah. They
It's
don't,
very,
yeah.
I mean, you're a coach yourself, like you have your patients, you're a practitioner. I'm sure you have, given many times, let's say, talk to one of your patients, and from one reason to another, they haven't done it. Not because they're weak or not because they're not disciplined. It's just, life is life. It's very hard to follow a rigid advice and just changing all your lifestyle in one time. So does GLP-1 actually give you that ease to start the change?
I always love this question. From which side do you want me to answer that question? Because there's a couple of different perspectives I can answer to.
I mean, both,
Yeah.
I would say, from a practitioner, a medical
Yes.
standpoint, but also from somebody who, let's say, is gonna, is thinking or is on it or wants to stop it.
For
and,
sure. I think compassion, number one, for me as a specialist, and
Very
I think
important. Very
everyone
nice.
can agree on that, is that wherever you're at, I will meet you.
Yeah.
And I think I always say, my passion is obviously, spiritual doctrine. And, Jesus always says, like, I will meet you where you're at.
Yes. Very nice.
And I want to meet every my client where they're at and support them wherever they want to go and educate them on the way, how and what is the best path to reach that goal. So trying to educate them, number one, how the body works, but as well support them if they want to do something that I maybe biasly don't want or believe for myself.
Yeah.
You always want, as a practitioner, to remove yourself out.
Yes.
I mentor many practitioners and I
Yes.
say always, don't put your bias in. You're not there to put your
100%.
bias, or you're not there to put your beliefs on them. You're here to give tools and to help clients where they are at.
Yes, I agree. And I really think as a human, you will follow something if you feel it was your choice.
Yeah.
It wasn't like given to you as a
For
force.
sure.
It was your choice.
For sure.
With the knowledge that you have around. My choice was to take this pathway.
Yeah.
It's a different pathway than the genetic one, but taking it. Now, wanted to go into, you mentioned the GLP-1 in the brain.
Yes.
So does that impact mental health?
Really good question. So neurotransmitters, we have obviously millions of neurotransmitters, but let's go through main basic ones. Dopamine is for pleasure. Serotonin is as well made in the gut that impacts neurotransmitters. We call it gut and brain axis, which is for happiness. We call it you're genuinely happy and joyful. We have acetylcholine for memory and cognitive function. The main pathways that we're working on is dopamine. So when we have addictions, usually to food, to alcohol, to drugs, dopamine is very low and it's imbalanced. So it's pleasure or hormone or the neurotransmitter that is really, you need things for pleasure. If you don't get it, you're gonna try to find it on the other way somehow. So that's where addiction comes in. Dopamine is a pleasurable neurotransmitter, and it works on something being pleasurable to your body or to your brain or feelings of pleasure. So we usually, if people are drinking, they usually feel some type of pleasure from it. If they're having, drugs, there are certain pleasure dopamine levels come up. So GLP-1 is actually working on a dopamine levels or on a pleasure level. That's why a lot of people, they say, once I started GLP-1, I don't feel anymore that urge to have junk food or to urge to have a cake, or I always thought about these junk food or had a cravings for them, and now I don't have any cravings. That's the first thing I see mostly with the dopamine levels, is that people don't have any pleasure towards food anymore. So they're just eating it.
I've heard also about it helps with quitting smoking.
Yeah, it's addiction again. So dopamine is a pleasure molecule, and if we are smoking, we're getting a certain amount of dopamine as well.
So it balances your dopamine, your natural dopamine levels in a way, so that you don't need outside pleasures that need to increase your dopamine.
I wouldn't
Did
say,
I simplify it a lot?
Good. It's a good, really good. The only thing is the dopamine, when it's usually low in a people that have low GLP-1, and they have usually metabolic imbalances and they crave food, smoke, or alcohol, it's usually low dopamine. So it's not even balanced. It's not even a norm. So that's why they reach out. And that's where you say GLP-1 balances it. It comes to the point that sometimes what I see with the clients, it numbs them not to feel anything anymore. And that's why I always say to my clients, fill up the questionnaires every single month. I want to see filling up the questionnaires. Is that feeling back after a certain point of stopping GLP-1? So at the moment, I have clients who stopped it. So I have more than now 14. So most of them who stopped it after 4 months, that pleasure starts slowly coming back.
4 months.
For some of them, they still didn't after a year, and they're okay with that. So we need to see where, if we test, I can actually test dopamine levels with the urine test that we do with neurotransmitter test with you guys. We can actually see the acetylcholine, the dopamine, the serotonin. We can see all GABA. We can see all the neurotransmitters. Are they actually low or are they actually imbalanced?
So what would you say is the best case scenario of how to stop GLP-1?
So if we speak about what is happening at the moment, clients are stopping by themselves abruptly.
I mean, some of them are starting by themselves, now stopping by themselves.
So this is what I see there.
Is it because they feel they've lost the weight, that's it, I'm going to stop? Or because they can't, there is a lot of side effects, they don't want to higher the dosage anymore?
So as we spoke before we started this podcast, there is if you see globally in a functional medicine field, there are certain dosages that are given. And there are certain dosages that just clinics and pharmaceuticals are making by themselves, which are compounded and not FDA approved. They're smaller dosages and they're given as a peptide. We can speak about peptides a little bit later, but they're using it as a longevity tool, as a microdosing. In this region at the moment, we don't have compounded smaller dosages. We only have FDA approved, which are very big dosages. So the microdosing, people do it with if that is available, right? In UAE, at the moment, they're not compounded, which is what I was aware of. In US, they are compounded, which are pharmacies using by their own, and they're creating smaller dosages, which are not FDA approved for now. So compounding means that, the pharmacy, it's a compounding pharmacy that can mix the medicine themselves and create it, so they have more
flexibility in dosages, so they can have smaller dosages.
The problem with that can happen that the molecules combined together, they're not clean, and that's why they're not FDA
exactly
approved.
So it's very regulated.
Yes, it is. So they're not studied enough, the compounded one. We don't know. We don't have any long-term studies to show the impact long-term, how they impact. For now, what I know from my research is that they're getting better functionally, metabolically. People are getting better in metabolic functions, cognitive function, inflammation is going down, they're losing weight.
So let's say if somebody does microdosing, does it mean that or no?
So if someone is doing microdosing in US at the moment, they're doing that, they're actually getting the impact on the metabolic health, sometimes without losing weight. But they're seeing improvement in inflammation, in cognitive function, in energy as well.
It's like a wonder drug. I mean, let's not call it that. It's never, but it does help. I mean, on a foundational level, any kind of imbalance you have when it comes to inflammation, hormones, or metabolic syndrome?
Every single pharmaceutical, I believe, that is there to support where you're lacking, but it's not curing you. So we just need to be aware of that.
You will stop taking it.
You will stop. And this is a really good thing, because a lot of times when I research, and I'm in a functional medicine field and in a conventions and everything, is that doctors tell you when you start, this is a drug for life.
Yes.
I believe that our body...
But it's like,
No, it's okay.
The statins is for life, Insulin, unfortunately, is for life. But this is how it's been. So if we can find a way for GLP-1 to help somebody on their way to, lower their weight, create some balance, and then actually find a structure to stop it slowly in a healthy way.
Yeah. Again, I believe the body is a process, and it's not a table. It's never, the most important thing that we need to know even is a lab test as well. They're snapshot in time, and they can change.
Yes, of course, 100%. I mean, I always tell clients, you do a blood test today, you do a blood test in a week, it could be different,
And you know what else, talking about that? I know we went on a tangent, but lab test results are made in a lab under artificial lights. Your blood acts differently on a sunlight.
Oh, no way. Yeah. Oh my God. So basically my conclusion, one of my biggest conclusions is I'm going to go under the sunlight.
Exactly.
But it's funny because I always, since I was young, I said, as long as there is sun and I'm in the sun and I have some time, I'll feel better.
There you go. There you go.
So actually it was scientifically proven.
Yes.
So let's go back to, your clients.
Dosages.
Yes, dosages who want to stop, So let's say you're somebody who's on GLP-1 right now. What would be the healthy way of stopping it?
So depending on what dose they're on, so we need to see firstly the dose they're on, how was the progress with dosing when they started, and how slowly they were coming up on the dose. The number one thing we need to know is who is the doctor we're working with. We always want to work with a doctor.
Yes.
But if they stopped by themselves, that's then on both of us.
Yes.
The best way is to slower and taper the dose month by month.
Yes.
Obviously, we know the dosages are pretty big. Again, depends, is it Ozempic, which is semaglutide, or it's Mounjaro, which is tirzepatide.
Yes.
Or it's Zepbound. So we need to see which are they using and what dosages are they're on. So every month we need to slow down the dose and very gently support those pathways, which is pancreas, insulin. Number 2, gastric emptying, which is the gut, how the gut actually is having the food in, emptying and excreting. Is there any pathogens that we need to treat? I always do GMAP test. And I always do our functional method full on 57 biomarkers to see all the biomarkers. So GMAP test is a must. And we need to actually support the brain function and neurotransmitters.
Okay.
So these are the things that we need to support during tapering down, because these are the pathways that they were supported with GLP-1.
Okay, very, very interesting. So let's say, if we put it like this, is that when you're on GLP-1, you have the support system. So if you're going to remove the support system slowly, you need to build it yourself
Exactly.
internally. And that's what...
For sure.
Okay.
Exactly.
Very nice.
So supporting, let's say, insulin pathway. So let's say for nutrition wise, we need to make sure that there's a certain amount of protein. Again, I really want to see, have they done blood tests before?
Yes.
What is the blood test before? Because I saw a lot of differences when they stopped.
Yes.
So let's say HB1AC was before 5.4. Then she went on the GLP-1. It was 4.5.
Wow.
But then it jumped to 7.7 after stopping.
Oh.
So these are my, I have them all printed out.
Yes.
And I'm really in research because I have a couple of machines that I test my clients with, which you can spoke about later. And I just put them on and just really, I want to see the pattern, what is happening.
Yes.
And
I mean, on the Valeo app, you can see how the clients see the
Yes.
pattern. I think always when you see the trend of something, you know, your own trend, it can bring you also your own insights.
For
But
sure.
interesting. So you can be at like 5.4, go down to 4.7, and then go up
And jump
to
up.
7.
Yes. And the thyroid as well. I saw the trends in thyroid as well, going up and down. So we just really want to support all the pathways there, that they were supported with GLP-1, which is the protein and fat is a must,
Yes.
specifically DHA and EPA, which is fatty fish.
Yes.
Which I
Oh
always
my
say
God.
with the signaling in cells and mitochondria, we need mackerel, sardines. My clients are just like, oh my God, again? I was like, yes, again. So we really want to make sure that we have not only from the supplements, because
Yes.
we can talk about supplements later as well, but food-wise,
Yes.
DHA, good fats. We need, grass-fed ghee. We want olive oil. We want
Yes.
coconut oil. We want
I think
beef
that all sounds very
tallow.
good to me.
Yeah.
Sounds
Exactly.
tasty
Yes.
to me. Yeah.
So we're balancing the blood sugar. We're eating enough protein and amino acids.
Yeah.
Fatty fish for
Yes.
our cardiovascular as well, because GLP-1 works on a cardiovascular to produce nitric acid, which is actually lowering blood pressure. So we want to support that. It's a lot of people there getting off the blood pressure medications because of GLP-1 as well.
Yes.
So we want to support that because it's amazing. Again, I go back to the sun, but nitric oxide is actually again stimulated by the sun. It's
Okay.
through POMC as well, and it's
wow.
lowering the blood pressure.
So we actually had looked at research about sunlight helping with blood flow,
Yes.
which helps with cardiac health.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
again, the sun. Honestly, I do believe that actually, nature or the way we've been created provides us everything we need. But unfortunately, because of the environment that has changed, we would need to create, take some supplements that usually the nutrients should give it to us, but now we have to substitute it. Now, the environment also created this imbalance in our GLP-1. Now we have to take this medicine to balance it out. But at the end, our own homework has to be done.
Yeah.
Sure. It's not a wonder drug. It's a wonder drug with the right support and changes.
For sure.
So if we look at, again, when it comes to exercise, for example, what do you recommend?
Beautiful. So we have clients that we see usually, if I look at obese people, they don't work out.
Yes.
So again, wherever you're at, we need to meet you.
Yes.
So there's
100%.
no you must work out.
You can't tell them,
No.
you need to run 5K now.
You can't.
Yes.
Because if you told them that before, they would do it.
Yes, exactly.
So I think it's again a personalized approach as a so there's two
Compassion,
approaches I would say. One is compassion, but number one is being that so they have an example.
Yes, of course. 100%.
Because if I'm not doing that and they don't see me as an inspiration and don't see me that I'm actually the one who can present something that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even try.
Yeah.
So I always call it my team as an athlete team.
Yeah.
Just imagine when you are younger
100%.
in Serbia. Oh my God! I mean I've been in athletes when I was like 5 years old, and
Yes.
so
I mean,
you
in
enter,
Serbia also, it's a very fit, athletic country. I mean, and you guys have great athletes too.
Yeah. So when you're in athlete's game, you don't have a choice then to show up. Like you would bleed. But your coach be like, get up and do it again.
Yeah.
Get up and do it again, but I'm with you. So it's not like a blaming, oh, you can't do it. Well, we're going to change it. No, get up and do it. I'm with you.
Yeah.
So two things, compassion and athlete team protocol,
Yeah.
which I own it. I show you the way and I shine the light because I am it.
Yes. Yes.
So that's where I think it's important to understand how we can go towards the exercise.
Yes, 100%.
So if I have a person that maybe is metabolically inflexible and they're already worked out, that is a really good question because there is a lot of workouts that can actually impact you on a stressful level, which is not hormesis. So we want to have hormesis. We want to have certain amount of stress, but not too much because the cells are still not healthy and they have oxidative stress.
Yeah.
And that's inflammation happens. So I want to support your cells not to be inflamed. So anti-inflammatory diet. Maybe if you can walk, just go for a walk, you know? The third one is something that I really imply is calling German body composition workout. GBC is something that I create specifically for my clients, which is upper body, lower body stimulation of a slow overload with machines. So very basic. You have never trained before. Like if you go to the gym, it can be only weight, it can be body weight. If I'm doing very fast, like a HIIT workout, I'm stimulating oxidative stress.
Yes.
I'm going to inflame and I'm going to get, you know, really inflammation. So what I want is as slow as possible, the long contraction of the muscle, steady. So if I'm doing a squat, it's not up and down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, hold, and then I come up. So longer
like
you are under
a bit.
tension, yes. And then after the squat, you go a lot pull down, for example. So we want to create that metabolic damage in hormesis that is very gentle, so it's up and down, not
men
consistently.
and women the same.
When men and women the same. If they're having metabolic issues with obesity, 100%.
Yes. And anyways, you don't have so much, especially in the beginning, energy when you're on GLP-1. A lot of people cannot even exercise. I mean, then doing slow, repetitive could be much, easier. I'm not sure very easy, but easier.
I think it's a good, again, we go back to energy and nutrition as well. So I really want everyone to get educated before they start, is that they must pay attention on their nutrient intake, because when you are not feeling hungry, the last thing you want to eat is protein. And why is that? Because it's dense. Second thing is because gastric emptying is very slow.
Yeah.
And eating a beef or chicken, it can be like, I just cannot swallow this because it's slow to be emptying and it's really dense. It's full on amino acid.
So what would they go for usually?
But usually they want to eat for smoothies and acai bowls or maybe like some soups or something like that, which is really easily digestible. And
but it's not energy.
It's not. So look, it is energy, but it's a certain amount of energy.
Yes.
Every food is energy.
Yes.
But it's about how can we use the energy in different ways, not only from food.
Yes.
And secondly, how much muscle mass I had before I started GLP-1 and how much I'm having during this process, and how can I support my lean muscle tissue? Because lean muscle tissue, we need, especially for women, we can talk about menopause and perimenopause, but when we're getting older, we are naturally losing lean muscle tissue.
Yes.
We're getting our portion down.
What age does it start going down?
I think depends of the person, because I think more metabolically healthy you are and more you're in a health and fitness, later it starts.
Yeah.
And I believe that even doesn't start at all if you're optimal. And there's one thing that I believe, that we never still tapped into our full human potential.
100%.
Not
especially
at all.
Not to be the feminist, but especially women. I think us women, we really still getting to know ourselves, in terms of when it comes to hormones, to limits we have, and I mean, there's a lot of talk. This is another podcast, number 3. There's a lot of talk on perimenopause, menopause, I really don't believe and don't want to believe that when a woman gets her menopause, that's it.
That's it. I love that. I have so many women, and I said, listen, no matter are you 50, you can still get pregnant. Hello.
Like, that's the next life. I don't know if they want to get pregnant.
No, it's true.
But
I have clients, I always say, like, they're not abnormal people. They're still a woman. They're 47. They have 2 kids like this, 47, 48, easy. So, but the only thing is that the mindset is so limited that we need education.
Yes.
Number one is education.
And I am curious to know, I know we did not discuss this before, but can somebody who is trying to get pregnant go into take GLP-1, or it's preferable not to?
Again, depends the start. So I would always assess a person, see where they're at. If they're obviously obese to the point that they're over 100, 90, 100, maybe we can consider that.
Yes.
But first, I would do stages. So all my protocols work on stages. I have stage 1, 2, 3, 4, depends where they're at. We do a blood test. We do probably GM-up test, or I always say heavy metal test is like huge now. So we need to test toxicity for fertility.
And we're very glad you do that all with Valeo. So it's very good.
I mean, I'm so happy that we're actually working on that, because people, when they say to me, they come to my house, they take it and they leave.
Yes.
That's what they love.
We make it, we remove all the excuses. Good. So then, you know, they have all the data that helps you to work with them.
Yeah. So if you're talking about fertility, because my thesis was on fertility in pre and postnatal, is that we need to understand where the person is. We meet them there, we test them. Obviously, I always go into the hormones. We have progesterone, estrogen, testosterone. We need to see LH, FSH. We want to test AMH as well, the quality of the eggs, and inflammation. Inflammation, oxidative stress, and there are a couple of clients that have done the gene testing for methylation as well.
Yes.
Why is methylation big? Because a lot of doctors giving folic acid for the fertility, and I'm not agreeing with that, because folic acid is a synthetic. Most of women that I see, they need active form of folate, which is methylfolate.
Yes.
And the active folate is actually supporting the egg quality and fertility and overall, you know, baby to develop. And when we have a methylation gene actually that is not properly working, or we have mutation there, and you get folic acid, it's not working. And you have one miscarriage after another miscarriage, and you don't know what is going on. So methylation, I would definitely test that. I have one lady at the moment that she has methylation gene mutation. So we're working around that, and she's doing IVF for now. So GLP-1, again, if you are someone who is obese, metabolically damaged, maybe you can consider that. But first, stage number 1, I would consider lifestyle change first.
Yes.
So we support you with your circadian rhythm, supporting the signaling, supporting the POMC pathway, supporting your diet and nutrition for fertility specifically. Where antioxidant, we go into toxicity as well. So is there any heavy metals, mycotoxins? We do heavy metal detox. So we support that. Cells need to have structured water. I will say stop working. That's number 1.
Yeah.
Stress is a big thing.
I mean, that's a very big ask. I like the sun, go on the sun one, but this is, yes. I mean, I guess it's all about also mindset, right? You know, what is your priority at this time?
That's exactly it.
You know, if this is your priority, how you bring it, and, you know, how do you respect this priority?
For sure.
My last question, and I have other questions, but this is my last, and again, we hadn't discussed it, but what about a woman after giving birth?
Yeah.
You know, I've heard, I've never gotten pregnant or given birth, but I have a lot of friends who did. You know, after giving birth, you have, you know, your body is not your body, they say, because your hormones are all imbalanced and you have a new baby. Is it recommended or not recommended? Let's put it this way. Is it okay for somebody to take GLP-1, a new mother?
That's a good question. And I think there's 2 aspects. One is psychological and emotional aspect. And how do you see yourself post-baby?
Yeah.
And another one is how your body actually is going to work through that. So number 1, if you look at psychologically and emotionally, because of your biochemistry being completely imbalanced, we need to come back into a new you. Your body needs to get into the cellular regeneration from the beginning, and you need to give yourself, imagine you are a baby in that time.
Oh, wow.
Are you going to give yourself pharmaceutical in that moment to support your balances?
Yeah.
And then when you stop, you need to go everything from the beginning as a root, or you're going to start from the root and go out with a baby
Yeah.
on a sunrise and just be yourself naked, almost in bikini. Sunrise, I'm not asking you to go more than that. Sunrise, 20, 30 minutes.
Most of you are awake because your baby is not
Exposure,
sleeping.
yes, because the dopamine levels are stimulated by the POMC. You're going to get better cognition. You're going to have a better clarity. Your again, we're going to go back into this, but sun stimulates melanin that stimulates serotonin levels, which is happiness hormone.
Yeah.
And serotonin activates melatonin in the evening. So if I don't see enough sunlight in the morning, I don't have enough melatonin to actually be activated in the evening so I can sleep better. And that's how we actually, sunlight helps you with the baby at night. You're actually supposed to be awake, unfortunately. But with the sunlight gives you energy during the night to do that.
Yes.
To support your baby. So 2 things. I would say both is where you're at, whatever you want to be, we can support you. I take out my biases. There's 2 options. You can go from as you are a baby as well.
Yes.
Support yourself from the roots of your cellular regeneration to become a superhuman naturally. So you don't think one day if the whole pharmaceutical industry starts to change and you're like, oh my God, they just cut off my medication. What I'm going to do? Do you want to be, clutching on that specific medication?
Yeah.
And what if they don't have it after?
I mean, I think as a human, as much as we can, not to depend on anything, it's much better. But if we can find a complementary way with the right mindset, then why not?
For sure.
This is what I'm hearing, right?
I always say, again, taking my own biases, wherever you're at, it's not something that is going to, I would say, I'm going to go my own bias. My own bias is I believe my body is amazing.
Yes.
I trust my body. My body is so good in all optimal health levels.
But this is 100% mindset, this affirmation. Because a lot of, and actually, obesity is a lot of it is, if we look at affirmations and mindset, is about not feeling safe.
Yeah.
And because the person doesn't feel safe, they hold this weight.
Yeah.
And they don't allow it to leave,
Yeah.
So everything will need to, maybe on a medical level, a GLP-1 can support. But if you don't change your mindset, that, as you said, my body is amazing. I am safe. I am healthy.
Yes.
I have everything I need. That what will allow for a long-term health.
For sure.
The longevity. That is
For
the
sure.
true longevity, I believe.
Exactly. Yeah.
Jelena, I can ask you 1,000,001 questions, but I'm getting that we don't have time left.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
It's my
today.
pleasure,
I really
really.
appreciate it. Thank you.
It's my pleasure, and I would just want to say to everyone, wherever you're at, we're here to support you and to educate you. And I would love everyone to come to the most superhuman health that they're able to achieve, and I know you can do it. Truly.
100%. I agree.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.